Hey everyone. Meeting to order, the Union Complex Board of July 3rd, 2024. 7 o'clock. Welcome. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Danielle Roder and her team for the incredible Canada Day celebrations we had just 2 days ago. Just an incredible number of people here, and everybody was having a fabulous time. So thank you, Danielle, here, but thank you, Danielle. Thank you to operations for putting that on. Secondly, remind people to speak clearly and distinctly into the microphone so the people out there can hear us. Especially for me as well, because it's that kind of age category called voice. Be a little louder for me to hear you. So thank you. Confirmation of the agenda.
That the board adopts the agenda for the meeting of July 3rd, 2024.
And secondary, Mayor Wilson and Board Member Sledge. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Green declarations of pecuniary interest. No delegations. Approval of previous minutes resolution.
That the EECC board adopts the minutes of May 8th, 2024.
Mover and seconder, Board Member Chapman and Board Member Roddy. Any corrections, additions, comments of the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? And 6 action items. 6.1 Director of Operations concerning the Canada Day celebrations resolution.
That report Recreation 13-24 entitled Canada Day Celebrations 2025 be received for information, and that the board requests the town of Elmer and Township Malahide confirm their commitment to again host the annual Canada Day celebration in 2025 at the EECC, and then the councils confirm their intent to undertake a joint funding application to the Canadian Heritage Celebrate Canada funding program.
Seconder. Board Member Chapman and Board Member Beach. Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not really a lot to add to this report. If the board members recall, we did discuss this at a meeting or so ago. And it's really probably in the board's best interest that a joint application for the Canada Day celebrations be submitted on behalf of the board. So we're seeking suggesting that the board get approval from both member municipalities so we proceed with that joint Canada Day application.
All those in favor? Carried. Item B, Parks and Recreation Coordinator, the ice user survey resolution.
That report Recreation 14-24 entitled Ice User Survey be received for information.
That's it. Mover and seconder. Board Member White and Board Member Barber. Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Chair, through you. So this report before you tonight is really just an update to inform members of an ice user survey that was facilitated in April this year following the busy ice user season. So this is intended to be an annual exercise. It's proven that we've had a number of respondents. We had, as mentioned in the report, there were 95 responses that were collected. We tried to keep the survey brief. Really, the purpose was to gauge the user experience, learn from that, see how we could affect and improve our services, whether that's through training, in-house, in-service workshops that we can provide, or just directions for our staff. So that was really, really important. There were 8 questions. One was open-ended, so we could collect the bad, the ugly. We were certainly trying to capture everything, and overall the responses did indicate that service was good. There was a very good category to check to, so we know there's room for improvement. And it was very positive to hear how we also were trying to gauge how folks heard about us, how we could engage folks through marketing. Word of mouth is still pretty key in our member municipality, which is wonderful, but people are actively engaged in social media and visiting the website, so that was positive to hear. We have learned and put a few things into action based on the findings of the report. The ice allocation process for the fall, we've used our laserfish forms so that we don't have any interruption in receiving information. Scanned documents sometimes get missed in emails. This is, we've got a repository, direct intake, so trying to improve the user experience. And yeah, celebrate the successes, the things that we're doing well, and help us inform the decision-making process for the future.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the concerns that Elmer Minor Hockey made in their report several months ago was the concern of the dressing room, the cleanliness of the facilities overall. How does the timing of this survey and the experience with the minor hockey report to the board, have you been able to make headway into the cleanliness issue? Thank you.
Through you, Chair, to Member Barber, thank you for that question. I should have probably mentioned too, this survey was on the heels of having some key stakeholder group meetings, so making sure that we heard from those key users, but then went out to the communities at large to gauge their interest. And that was a consistent, that was something that was heard from the community as well. So not just through minor hockey, it was validated through this larger public survey as well. So we've had some in-house staff trainings and are looking to processes that help improve that. So the experience in this coming season will be that much better. Do that. That's great.
So this was a one-off survey. Is there going to be consideration for surveys after every group that uses? So like if I come and read for an hour, do I get a survey to complete on my experience so that we have an ongoing way to measure how we're doing and improve consistently as opposed to once a year?
Thank you through the chair to Member Leach. Right now it's considered for an annual survey, but we're certainly looking through using different tools. We're just kind of looking to see how successful it could be. But it's a wonderful suggestion and it's something that our staff have discussed. So thank you.
We've had numerous concerns addressed with the food options available at the facility. That's another comment that was made in the survey. I just want to know, has there been any indication from the vendor to extend the lease? Or have we have any updates regarding that? Because that would be a comment.
Through you, Chair, to Member Desrosiers. We're actually having conversations with the concessionaire tomorrow. So it's been an ongoing discussion as the lease expires the end of August. So we're looking to hopefully be somewhat proactive in that approach.
Fair through you to the manager. Yeah, I was curious to see if you had done any analysis per user group. I find it interesting that often, like when you ask about the quality of something, that it would be more of a slope, whereas right now seems to be a group that thinks the ice is not of good quality, but there's another group that said, yeah, they're fine. And so I was curious if there was some correlation to the type of user. And so that would give us some additional insights that perhaps the ice is good for this type of use or not so good for this type of use. Any insights on that?
through you, Chair, to Member Chair. Not formal data, I can say, this season, we actually had one-on-one sit downs with the user group, which was wonderful to gain that feedback that they have. And I think it would be important, in those user group meetings, it was clear that their uses, and concerns are really different. So if you're figure skating, and you have time after, the building has been flooded with that empty, you've got some time for some kind of bumps to set up, which may be more impactful for some different user groups, and we've had that feedback. But no formal data collected. I think it's important, as Member Beach had mentioned, to drill down maybe on these feedback surveys so we can generate that data. Now that we've had some open dialogue and have heard some of the broader concerns of the user groups, and then we can reflect back and improve from what we've learned.
The follow-up, Jerry, with Survey Monkey, you can do like, two-factor correlation just to see if there are, but then that might be helpful with the planning.
Sure. I think it's good that we're doing the survey. Because if you don't have data, you can't improve upon something you don't have any data on. So it's great that we're doing it. And, now that we have baseline, we can work towards those improvements in the areas that we, so it's good that we just have the data. Sort of saying it about data, it's just opinions. Anyone else?
I don't need the microphone. No, you can have it. When we were,
Rick, people can't create what they want.
oh, yeah, sure they're all watching. No. Going back to, Councilor DeRozier's, thing about the concessionaire, are we negotiating come out with who we have now, or are we tendering process? Here, have a mic.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just to remind the board members that the concessionaire has historically been a challenge for the board to get that concessionaire filled, or last time we put it out, we didn't have anybody respond to any expression of interest at all. So I think the first step is one, to sit down with the person that's in there now, see if there's an interest to continue. And then we'll need to decide going forward whether there has an interest or whether we can go back out. And I will say this is not unique to the Elmer Arena. If you go into almost any other arena, there's a challenge with concessionaires in the building, just for the small amount of time that they're open that the vendors are around. And we're hopeful that we can get somebody in there, but I will say there's, a likelihood that we might not be able to. And that has been a historical challenge for the board as well. So if you look at any of the big events out there, usually if you want a food truck at your event, you almost have to pay for them to show up. But at the end of the day, you have to book them in advance. So we've got a concession stand that is a bit of a challenge to get people in there too. So we can report back till after we sit down with our vendor.
Okay.
Can't beat that. Mr. Chair, I just like that I agree with the survey. I think it's you do have to have information come in so you know what you can fix, but the climate movement itself of the facility definitely needs to be attended to because it's not an issue, and I hope it gets there. But the food option is the reason why it's hard to get people in because we charge too much to have them, or is it affordable to have someone in there now? Like, how do we charge for that? Like, are we just trying to cover our costs on it, or are we trying to make a profit on having someone there, or how does that kind
Mr. Chair, I think that rental on the space is minimal. I wouldn't want to say exactly what it is. I think, just to give you a scope of how much it is, it's probably like $100 a month. And I think there's a small margin that the vendor gives us a percentage of profits, a very, very small margin. But no, it's not that we're charging too much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That, from personally knowing the last vendors that we had here, we were asking way more than $100 a month previously. So I think if we're asking a more economical price for rent, the lease of that facility, that we may actually have more interested vendors should we put it for a tender process. And I personally think we have a due diligence as a board to offer that up to the public. And should there not be any interest, well, then we continue on with the current vendor. But if there is, especially at $100 a month, we may have more commercial tenants that are interested.
Well, good discussion, everything that I've worked, the user survey, and the question. Yeah, no, somebody else. Favor? Carried. Steve? And the proxy recreation. Eight projects.
That report recreation 15-24 entitled AHMA projects update be received for information. And that the board approved the intention of donation as submitted by the AHMA, and further to approve capital expenditures to not exceed $1,500 to assist the expenditures outside the scope of the donation. And that the board approved the recommended implementation strategy for the display of banners on the Eastland and Kinston arenas, with EECC supporting associated costs for installation not exceeding $3,000.
Thank you. Seconder. Rodney.
Thank you, through you, Chair. This is actually a really good news report that I'm pleased to share with the board. And it is the report. I'll break it down into kind of by project. So really grateful for the support of the Elmer Minor Hockey Association, and not just a benefit to their association, but really items that'll benefit the community at large. So as you recall, the Elmer Minor Hockey has donated a scoreboard that's set for installation tomorrow actually on East Lake Arena. And subsequent to that, following our board meeting in May, I received a new intention of donation to replace a scoreboard on Kinsman Arena, a scoreboard and controller. So that's wonderful news right from the Elmer Minor Hockey. So that's the intention of donation before you tonight. And basically the rationale behind that is to have an improved operating system, improve the volunteer experience, and really encourage folks to be willing to timekeep. It's not an easy job. It's kind of high pressure when you're sitting behind that controller. So making those user friendly isn't as hard to sell. So we're anticipating pending board approval tonight. We'll work with Elmer Minor Hockey, balance out with our operational needs, knowing that it is on Kinsman Arena and we have ice in there year round. We'll be looking for a time that'll be less interruptive to user groups, that'll cause the least amount of disruption. The good thing is we have a practice run happening right now, so we'll know exactly after tomorrow any of the installation works to be prepared for. But so far, in the current project on Eastlink, it's been pretty seamless to have the nets lowered, communication with the company to have the scoreboard arrive, offloading it from the truck to be ready for install. So far so good on this project, and the anticipated costs are in line with what we had proposed for the Eastlink scoreboard. So that hopefully catches you up to date on that. This and just also to to give credit to Elmer Minor Hockey, this scoreboard and controller, the cost is just shy of $17,000 plus HST. So that is, again, is a cost that is relieved from our future capital planning exercises. So the second part of the report tonight, and I wanted to make sure I captured all of the AMHA's good stuff in one report, hopefully, is with regard to feedback about recognition through banners within the East Elgin Community Complex. So in having conversations with AMHA, we had a stakeholder meeting. We had representatives from the Spitfires, Bad Girls, and also collaborated with Elmer Skating Club as well, just to generate community feedback about what the best approach would be to displaying the banners, really getting their input. So we met on site here and came up with a project plan, whereby the exterior walls of both arenas will have 2x4s installed, which Elmer Minor Hockey will be donating. And came up with a plan, and we're drafting a banner policy right now, so we have some expectations. We've been without that direction in the past, staff and user groups. So we've often found people will drop banners off after an accomplishment, and everyone would like to see them up in a hurry, but we don't have a lift on site. Procuring a lift is about a $500 rental, so we always want to make sure we pair that with so that it makes sense. Staff have been pretty fiscally responsible with that. So having this banner policy will give everyone a clear timeline of the intake of the banners, when to install the banners. So we worked with the user groups, found a solution that will work on both arenas, checked with the chief building official for the town of Elmer, and we're permitted to do the work that is expected. The timeline, it'll take about a week on each arena we're anticipating. So it'll be a lift rental for each arena, and based on our operational workloads, it would suggest probably January, February timeline for installation of the bracing, and then the banners will be after that. And that'll give the user groups all time to take inventory of their banners, prioritize what can be hung. Currently on Kinsman, there's 38 banners hung and 46 in Eastlink. And with new systems installed that are pretty low tech, to be honest, so not prone to failure, pretty future proof, right? It'll give us room for about 100 banners. So over time, it'll be a nice visual yearbook of our community's accomplishments. So that's a good news story. I hope for today in our relationship with minor hockey, and we're very pleased and grateful to minor hockey and to present you to the board tonight.
There comes in two sections, pension organization and banners, so it's separate discussion of those. The intention of donation. Question.
Here for you to Ray. I have a question about sound like so A is a great news story. So it sounds like the wish is to have it installed ideally this summer, the control, right? Now I can understand we can't control the availability of the product, but if we approve this tonight, then the third factor is staff availability. So that's more within our control. So considering the significance of this donation and how user-friendly we make it for the fall, is there any way we could prioritize this? And assuming the availability of the product is not an issue, could we remove staff availability as a barrier to having it for the fall?
Through you, Chair, to members here. Honestly, staff availability has been one of the pleasant surprises for this current project. The product itself is about a 10 to 12 week turnaround. So once we place the order, we'll be waiting for a few months at least to be able to get the product. Our biggest concern, it really has minimal staff time. Our staff lower the net, it took a couple of hours, offloaded the equipment from the truck, and then the installer does the work. So it's bringing the staff up is is actually the easy part, making sure we can minimize interruption to programming is what will be and will be working with users. It's a little tricky around Kinsman, but as soon as we get, the go ahead to do the project, we'll be getting the wheels in motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mrs. Ray, have we ever put the ice in this pad, which would free up time to do work on the other one? Or you don't want to pull it out and say, you have the same question?
Anyone else?
Answer my. Say it loud.
All right, banners. Questions, comments up with that? Board Member Leach.
This is more of a maintenance issue. When the wood goes up on the cement wall, is there going to be some sort of primer that inhibits mold and mildew growth? Because it tends to be a high moisture fire.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair, to Board Member Leach. We've worked with the CBO to make sure that however we're putting a hole in the wall is safe and we're not going to be inviting future problems. So we'll be using the proper hardware to affix the wood to the aluminum siding on the interior of the exterior wall. And then further to that, I guess just an aesthetic note, the wood will be painted to match the aluminum siding, so it'll be aesthetically pleasing as well.
Just a comment, but I'm really pleased with the initiative. I think it's not only improving the user relations on planning and user groups, but it's also improving the overall aesthetic of the facility. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that done.
Board Member Chapman.
I just have a question in regards to the $3,000. Can you tell me what that $3,000 is for? Because it seems like an exorbitant amount to hang 100 banners.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Board Member Chapman. And you'll see on the second page, or fourth page of the report, page 21 of your package, I've got a financial impact breakdown. And most of that is honestly the lift rental. That's our biggest cost. It's about $2,400 to complete the project. The wood will be donated by the AMHA. And then paint should we require that as well, and then just the mounting hardware. So most of it is just the equipment we don't own that we just need to rent. That.
Anything else?
Maybe I'm not looking at this right, but it says lift rental scoreboard project. Is that the one that, and lift rental for scoreboard project for the banner? So it's cheaper for the scoreboard than it is for the banners? Like, how long will these banners been, how long is it gonna take to put these banners out?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Member Chapman, it's anticipated it'll take about a week per arena. So the scoreboard project, it was a 1-day rental. Yeah, and so 1 day versus 7 days.
I'm sorry, did you have a question? I'll remember,
Mr. Chair, if we're concerned about mildew on 2x4s, has anyone considered pressure treated lumber for this purpose? Because I know that when at the school, when we used lumber and painted it did not like pressure treated. So I thought I would just throw that out and see if someone might want to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Member Linsky. That's certainly a conversation we'll have with minor hockey to make sure that the appropriate lumber used and retro treated is would be an ideal option.
Anyone else? If you want. Okay, call the resolution, then all those in favor? Set the hands up. Make sure it's back here, Gary. Manager of Parks and Recreation, digital display sign update resolution.
Red Report Recreation 16-24 entitled the LED display sign be received for permission, and that staff be directed to include the cost of a replacement sign in the 2025 draft budget for board consideration.
Seconder. Governor Chapman and Governor Lewis. Did you work out tonight?
You're going to stop inviting me to these things if you don't want to get home. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. This is an update to members with regard to the marquee sign at the entrance to the EECC. The LED, as members are aware, the LED display portion of the sign has been inoperable for quite some time. And so just providing an update on that and potential options should the board wish to find a temporary solution. Staff have been working since this time last year in July, honestly, to find a solution and have come to a conclusion through the service contractor that the issue is actually the driver board within the message center of the sign, and they no longer carry parts for the 2003 model. So kind of what we see now is sort of what we are living with, unless that portion were to be replaced. I have in my report included signs or information for portable signs that can be rented or purchased. Staff don't feel perhaps that that's a necessary solution for a portable static sign. We've had some user groups, if they have registration or one-off events, they'll rent their own sign, or we'll see them pop up around town just to kind of let folks know about registration dates. But basically things on the marquee side, maybe key events, usually you pull into an arena or a facility and maybe see the time, the date, the weather, things like that. But this time it was basically replacement of that piece of the marquee sign. It's ranges between about $23,000 and $25,000. Whether that's an opportunity to add to future capital planning exercises. Rentals of the signs are about $180 a month, and you're sort of landlocked to the messaging on there. The owners of the signs will change the message once every once every 6 weeks or so, but it's pretty static. If you own the sign, obviously there's a bit more value. You purchase the sign up front, but you kind of lose that with all the staff time it takes to fly to W and E and find your messaging, and then you spell something wrong, you start again. Anyhow, and then we haven't further looked into the implications of actually placing the sign, on the highway there and the permission that would be required there. So really just bringing this forward for information, and discussion and perhaps direction, and, really the sign is not repairable. So I wish I had better news on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The availability of the sign to advertise events along the road makes good sense, and to consider that in an upcoming budget would be prudent. Various user groups, figure skating for one, have periodically rented portable signs for registration purposes and other things. Would it be feasible? Does it have any merit to work with any of the user groups to see if there's a collective desire or will to share the cost of a portable sign until such time as a more permanent sign can be discovered and complete?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Member Barber. I think that's a great idea to bring up to the user groups to have we do have that open dialogue with representatives from each group. So it would be a fairly reasonable email to send to folks to see if they've got the interest and engage the applicant of that.
Thank you.
To Mr. Chair, to Ms. Ray. What would we be putting on the sign? And like the other, because we can't change the date, that once a month is not enough. Is there any other critical information that needs to be changed on an ongoing basis? Does it make it worth the while to have the sign?
Through Mr. Chair to Member Leach. To be honest, probably not. We do find social media is a pretty powerful tool. It's shown through the user survey that folks are visiting our website. So those are really our best tools. Folks, instead of driving by at a higher rate of speed than they should probably at our marquee sign, likely would pull up their phone, Google the answer, go right to our website. So
my husband looked on the website to find the candidate stuff, and it was only sponsorship information. So there wasn't, the information on the website wasn't up to date. So could that be a better consideration to have a more up-to-date website than to put money into a sign that we can't really change people?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Member Leach. Thank you for that feedback, and I can certainly take that. Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I question to have a digital sign by the road to be in. First of all, if you're a special interest group renting the arena, if you're pushing the event, you can get a portable sign and rent it, or your group is involved more. You don't have to put it on your sign and have a flash on it. You don't need to tell the time. You don't need to tell the temperature. My truck dashboard will tell me that. And if it breaks, if I step outside, I know it's cold. But, or if it's hot, I don't need somebody to tell me that. So to spend that kind of money on a fancy sign, no, get that pressure treated wood that's left over, put a pressure treated piece of plywood there, welcome to the EECC, and go from there. I don't think we need to spend that kind of money, especially when you're talking $2.4 million to fix this place to begin with. To add another $25,000 for a fancy sign that is not needed, in my mind, is just a waste. Thank you.
I do have a question. Looking at 23,000, 25,000, talking about preliminary research, I think it's kind of a ballpark figure. You haven't really looked at any kind of a sign detail. And secondly, does this sign, is there any indication of the what of length of use of the sign? Because the other can be fixed, we don't know where the use cycle all over the last in terms of new items. Research. Third question. Will I have a video?
For you, Mr. Chair, not just interrupt or correct me if I missed one. The lifespan of the sign I can't actually speak to. This sign lasted 20 years. I'm not sure what a new model might. I think you could get anything you want if you pay for it. I'm sure we could have video, we could have all sorts of animations at an additional cost. This is basically like for like the static LED image that staff would input wirelessly. Did I miss a piece of that, Mr. Chair?
Yes. Quoted amount does not include video, which is pretty sure.
That's right.
Someone else?
discussing a new sign for this year, but I will look forward to those details, because I know the prices have come down, the technology has really changed. And, so I'd be curious to know if there's something more modern as opposed to like for like, because I think then it could open up more interest for advertising. So it's going more flexibility, so I don't think it's necessary for now. I don't think we need a temporary, I don't think we need to spend money on a temporary sign. But I think a fulsome discussion and all the options and opportunities would be welcome for budget 25. My only question for at the interim is what can we do to make it look like at least that the place is open? I find like the base right now, like the concrete base needs a good power washing. Like it just looks like the whole place is a bit abandoned and closed. So the LED is dark. The base is not really clean. And so I thought, can we spruce it up and maybe like put something on the LED that is a little bit welcoming? Something interim that gets it, that would make it look like this place. It's still open for business.
Clean up the old problem.
Louder. It looks sad. It looks sad.
You have to.
You have a volunteer to plant flowers.
Anyone else? Remind you that this resolution calls for staff to include the cost of the replacement sign in the draft 2025 budget. So about the wording on when we get this. It's so you can clear them.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Does it have to go in that exact sign, or can we put up a different style of sign? For $25,000, it should be the size of the Mustang driving sign. I also disagree with the portable ones. I think they look trashy for something of this establishment. Something would be nice, but $25K isn't worth it, in my opinion. It has to be. I think it should be brought up in 6 months or a year and just see if there's different options than that 20-year-old shooting like.
Thank you. Yeah. I think staff's got the idea to come back with a bunch of options. Sure.
That's my place. Thank you. I think if you're going to add this into the 2025 budget, you should actually attach it to tree removal project so you can actually see the damn sign. There's no sense unless you do what the council like you said and put up something like the Mustang Dragon. I don't care what you put there. You can't see the goddamn thing, then there's no sense showing it. All right, sorry. But you gotta get rid of those trees. What's that?
I said, I think staff will look at those kinds of things.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, raise your hands, please, so I can see them. That's carried. Thank you. Item E. And your Parks and Recreation. Rail update resolution.
Web Report Recreation 17-24 entitled Handrail Update received for information, and that the board determine the preferred style and location of the handrail system to be installed and presented in figures 1 to 6 of the staff report.
Board Seconder, Board Member Roddy, and Board Member Leach.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. So this is really a follow-up to discussion from the main board meeting. So I've done some research and returned with some options, some designs for the board to consider. These are from some local and then just some options that we had found. Basically, what we would be looking for the project is a company who could design, fabricate, paint, install the whole shebang, kind of start to finish. So supply and install. really looking for something that would, have an engineer stamp drawing that would be AOD compliant and thinking ahead for the future as well. Something durable, low maintenance, something that would mitigate injury or risk or liability as well. And something that would be, again, aesthetically pleasing and not impact the user experience, but promote accessibility. So there are a few options here. So basically tonight, it's an opportunity to think if you wanted a kind of straight span railing down the middle of the stairs, which is an option, or if you would like an individual seat hand railing that you see in, I think figure 1 and figure 2 display the individual seats, and then you'll see the longer span down the middle in the other figures. Once we have that determined, we can certainly seek true costs, and I can bring that information back to the board.
Remind us, really the discussions about it, like, where do you want the railing, and it's basically where you want it. What number?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My personal preferences are either figure 3 or figure 5 because there are no sharp edges on both those sets of rails, and they are essentially continuous. So anyone who has a little bit shaky doesn't have to try and keep reaching for the next span of rail. And it does allow, figure 5 does allow pass through between, which can be very helpful.
I agree with board member Leach. I like figure 5. It looks like the simplest to build and maintain, and nothing. But I mean,
I prefer figure number 5 because it does have breaks so that if you have people sitting on one side and the other, there is a pass through, where the other one is just one continuous line, so they have from all the way to the top to go to the other side. So having it span 2 or 3 steps and then a break, 2 or 3 steps and then a break is more.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would agree with from member Chapman and member Robbie, specifically number 5. Me seems most economical. If there was ever any damage to a piece of the railing, they could just pick out in one specific section as opposed to the whole figure 3. So I would be in favor of figure 5.
Sorry, sitting over here, I never.
I know. Anyway, I agree with picture number 5. That to me looks like common sense. One question I do have, I see it's going to be like hot dip galvanized, prime powder coated. Can we look at aluminum as an option? Because as soon as I hear prime and powder coated paint, it's going to need maintenance in the future. I don't know if aluminum could be an option, but I'd like to see that price.
I would like number 5 as well, because it kind of avoids people trying to jump the railing. You should do it. So, anyone else? Have you guys got enough direction, I think, on this? What number each?
I would like to thank staff for coming back with solutions for this issue so quickly.
Thank you for suggesting that. Seeing no one else, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Parks and Recreation Fire Panel for project update.
That report recreation 18-24 entitled Fire Panel Project Update be received for information, and that staff be authorized to proceed with the procurement of upgrades to the communications security system as recommended in the report, should the cost be determined to be below the threshold of the total procurement.
Seconder. Barbara and Chapman.
For you, Mr. Chair. This is the finale, I promise, but no less important. The purpose of this report is to report to the board on the the fire panel project that was included in the capital project or the capital budget for 2024. Following inspection, two independent inspections, one for the fire panel and the other for the communication piece. The findings of the inspection of the fire panel was that it's a robust system that's working. In connection with fire chief, he's also mentioned in his career, it's uncommon to replace a functioning panel unless it's showing sign of failure. And through inspection, it is robust and functional panel. Parts are readily available. Having said that, it is a 20-year-old panel, so there could be potential. That's just a crystal ball. We can just kind of go off what we know. So the fire panel itself isn't necessarily recommended for repair at this time as it's fully functional. However, the communication component of the fire monitoring system is the area of immediate need. Staff have noted failure in the system where it sends frequent false alarms as well. So basically, this is a board that has an access panel located in the mechanical room that really calls out in case of an alarm, so fire, burglary, anything like that. So it has, through independent inspection, it's passed the inspection, but it has been noted that it is recommended for replacement. So considering this lumped in with the fire panel replacement program and capital consideration, the panel would be the big cost. I think there's about $51,000 earmarked for that. The communication piece is basically the technology. It's a much lower cost, so hopefully that will fall within the procurement guidelines, and we can go ahead and proceed with that, and there'll be some savings.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Glad to see we're scrutinizing some of these repairs in the project. My problem I have, we paid for qualified inspection and now we're told we don't need it. So when I see a report like that and there's something wrong, is the whole report wrong? One of our former mayors, that was the state of tank line. One part wrong, probably the whole damn thing. But how much would we be saving if they 50,000?
Through you, Chair, to the member. With regards to the report, the building condition assessment speaks to it being a visual inspection of the fire panel. So it wasn't a detailed inspection like we would have through a service contractor that came in and provided the inspection. So that was the guidance that was suggested based on the age of the fire panel. So basically, of the $51,000 in the project, we're hoping that the communication piece will come in under $5,000. That's what we could be looking at setting.
If that's a good news story, we're saving 50,000, and I'm always a proponent of if it still works, that's all that works. Let's keep it, because then save some money. The new stuff probably not going to last as long as the old one. Thank you very much, and hopefully that works out.
Favorite resolution. Yeah. Very good. G, Director of Operations. Director of Operations dealing with HVAC unit members.
That report, Recreation 19-24, RFP, HVAC, RTU 4 to 7.5 tons. Be received for information and that staff be directed to receive a request for tender for replacement of the 4 to 7.5 ton HVAC RTU at the East Elton Community Complex.
Mover and seconder. Board Member Serna and Board Member Winston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As outlined in the report, I prepared a tender document. I still have to do a final sweep through it. So if anybody sees any spelling or any errors or like that, please feel free to let me know. The way I've structured this tender is most of the board members are aware, when you go for like an request for proposal, it's not unusual to get a fairly substantive document that a consultant would prepare and submit for you to evaluate. Not something that's typically done with an HVAC contractor. You're not likely to get them to submit a proposal. They're used to seeing the low bid tender format. So what I've done is I've taken the parts of a request for a proposal where they have to submit and meet a certain criteria level before we open their bid. But I've structured it in a way that they can just simply fill out the form. There's a form there that says, show us 3 similar jobs, so we can evaluate a contractor, because that's one of the criticisms we often hear with the low bid tendering procedures. We take the low bid, and as everyone is aware, unless there's a real good reason, you're almost obligated to take that low bid. Your solicitor will tell you that. So what has to happen now is they have to score above 70% on our evaluation. And once they score 70%, we basically said, okay, anybody's bid now that we open, if we're satisfied, can do the work. And then they get points, the final 40 points would be based on the price. So the way I've structured it is it's kind of a hybrid between the two, but it will allow us to evaluate the contractors, not simply just post it on bids and tenders and accept a bid from Oshawa because they're the lowest bid. We can evaluate the contractor first and then evaluate the contractor's price. So they have to submit similar jobs, experience, and all that stuff. But I simplified the process, looking at the contractors we're probably chasing to do the work.
To you, Mr. Chair, to Director Johnson. I like this process because like the low bid doesn't always mean the best final outcome for our municipality. So I look forward to seeing how well this goes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To you to Rob. Rob's got a question. It says replace them with 4 to 7.5. How come there's such a range? Explain that.
Those were the HVAC units that were originally designated in this year's capital, 4 to 7.5 ton HVAC units. The other ones that we're going to do in the future years were considerably larger. I think they were just grouped by size on our condition assessment. Well, there's there's 6 altogether of that size units. 2 cores, 7.5. Each one of those would be bid individually. Separate item based on the size. You go along with the price for, it's going to base the price on the largest unit. So get a price for each unit.
How many were replacing them? I'm a little confused. You said 6?
I believe there's 6, yes. I'd have to.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Well, H, legislative services, resolution.
Report 22-24 RFP and for the EECC sound system modernization and upgrades be received for information. And then the EECC board awarded the contract for the sound system modernization and upgrades to PA Shops 80 Solutions for $23,575, excluding HST, and approved a capital budget amendment for an additional $4,287.50 for municipal partner.
For a second. For Dr. Wilson. Second. For Bird.
Thank you, members. This RFP was before the board at the last meeting. We have since issued the RFP. We held a site meeting at which the three vendors which submitted a bid or proposal attended. They each submitted proposals a couple weeks ago, which are before the board today for decision. All three bids really did take a similar approach to resolving issues. We do have failed amplifiers, which need replacement from analog to a digital amplifier. We also have the connectivity issues that our users expressed at the ICE level. So each of the proposals suggested a Bluetooth solution there. So if you remember from the facility tour, it's replacement of some of the equipment from the current sound room, as well as replacement of the connectivity at the ICE levels. This has come in over the budgeted amount. We do think, based on the three proposals being within a couple of $1,000s of each other, that this is kind of just the market price for resolving these issues that we're having. So the recommendation for the board today is to accept the lowest bid and move forward with the budget amendment.
Questions from the board? Board Member Quincy.
Mr. Chair, what's the $4,287.50 extra for?
For the chair, so the successful bid amount was $23,500. So the additional $4,287 is half of the difference between the bid and the amount that we approved previously through the capital budget.
Sure.
Chair. For the approved or the proposed tender, is there any warranty for any of the equipment or material for the project?
We looked at the warranties, they're similar between all the providers. 1-year warranty and installation, and I think 5-year warranty on equipment.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair. So if the motion is for an additional $4,000+ per municipal partner, the panel, the control panel for the fire, since we didn't approve a full replacement, is there still funds in the budget that are not allocated that this would be a new point?
The chair, so if we want to extend the funds for this project, then we need approval for this project specifically. Just if we approve the motion today, we'll be sending a letter to Allied Council. Hopefully we get up your agenda tomorrow. Elmer will approve the same thing next week. Then we'd be able to move forward with the project towards the end of the month. But we do need that additional based on the governance of the board.
So this is just a request for over and above what was previously budgeted, but not necessarily signing a check over. There's still money in the bigger ask.
Favor? Are there any inquiries?
My inquiry is as to how our pads that don't have ice during the summer could potentially be used. I was wondering if there's been any consideration of having any type of ball game, like a basketball or volleyball, badminton set up, or use the unused ice pad with the cement as a roller inline skating pad for summer months.
For you, Mr. Chair, to Member Leach. Currently, pickleball has enjoyed shifting to outdoor or to play on the arena floor, so that's been very positive. And our staff are considering programming options. We have a ball hockey rental tomorrow or the next day. So that's really positive, but some actual scheduled activities are on the horizon.
Board, you now adjourn at 8:06 p.m.
All those in favor? Thank you very much.